Hey everybody, welcome. It's so good to have you back. It's so good to be back behind the mic. It has been quite a minute since we've been behind the mic, and so we're just so happy to have you here and to have you dig a little bit deeper. So today we do a couple of types of podcasts. Some are on the emotional side, some are lighthearted. Today we're going to get a little bit of science, and the science, sometimes we overlook that. Sometimes we are like, "Oh, just tell me what to eat, tell me what to do. I'll do everything you say." But we have proven that you can't do that. You've got to know the science behind your new lifestyle. You've got to know why it's working. Because if you have the science to back up the feelings, that is equal to a long-term success in your weight loss. And so today we're going to dig a little bit deeper. And I'll admit, Coach Darcy, this is not my favorite because you and I sit with women every day. We sit with men every day who have real life happening to them. And they're like, Monica, just tell me how to get through this divorce. Tell me how to get through this. I am changing 29 diapers every day. How do I get through this? And that is number one in my book is your lifestyle and what you're really going through. But it is also important to know the science behind what we're doing. We've got to back up our lifestyle with science. And so that's what we're going to do today. Not my favorite show, I'll be honest with you, because I bleed with the women and the men who come to me every day and say, hey, it's much deeper than this. And so my heart goes out to those people. But even those people have to know the science behind what we're doing. And when you say the word metabolic, people tune out because they're like, yeah, I understand that that's happening behind the scenes. I understand the problem you're talking about. But what do I do when I'm changing 29 diapers a day? Well, you've got to know the science, because the science is the foundation of what we're going to talk about today. And so we're going to break down metabolic health. Again, might be a little bit over our heads, and we're going to try to simplify it because I don't do anything in my life that I don't understand. I have to understand what's going on. So the word metabolic health scares me a little bit. And so we want to keep it simple for you. We want to give you a visual. We want you to understand what your metabolic health really does and how the creator of the universe made our bodies, because that really is the foundation, how your body works and the science behind how your body works. We were knit together in our mother's womb because of this. And when we understand this, then we can understand why our minds work the way they do. And so we're going to simplify it today. And you and I are going to bounce back and forth and talk about different things about metabolic health. But metabolic health is not scary. It is simply how your body uses energy, how it stores energy, how it accesses your stored body fat, how it maintains your blood sugar, and how when your body is when its metabolic system and its metabolism is flexible, how your body switches between fuel sources and how it does it easily. And then we're going to talk about when your metabolism is struggling. You can't lose weight, folks. Your body holds on to fat. Your energy feels unstable. Your mindset kind of shifts into this, what is the easiest path, right? And so metabolic health is about how safe your body feels when releasing energy. When I say releasing energy, that means living, right? You've got to feel safe when your body is releasing energy. This brings fat loss. This brings weight loss. So it's not just about weight. Your metabolism, your metabolic health is about energy. It's about your cravings. It's about your mood. It's about your sleep, which, folks, your sleep and your stress level are the number one reasons why you can't lose weight. It's about inflammation. Inflammation is another way your body refuses to lose weight. So when we understand the science, we can marry that with how to deal with the thoughts and the feelings and the failures and everything that you've struggled with. So, yes, this podcast is needed. And yes, we understand that you may need to compartmentalize the emotions with the science. We understand that. But when you put them all together, you will have a recipe which thousands of our clients have experienced. We've experienced that freedom of weight loss that comes naturally with no added drug, no added anything, but freedom. And so we challenge you today, as you're listening to this science-y podcast, that you would just kind of put that aside, put your lifestyle aside, and just kind of lean into the physiological side of weight loss. And that all has to do with your metabolic health. Your metabolic health is the number one reason why we fail weight loss, because we forget this. And we forget, yeah, along with the food addictions that you may be struggling with, along with the marriage issues, along with the church issues, along with all of the other issues, if you marry these two together, you're going to find success. So, this is your pre-show warning that, yeah, we need you to dig into your science side a little bit today. We need you to dig into why your body works the way it does. And our hope at the end of this podcast is that you'll understand that it's not a if situation. It's an and situation. It's your emotions plus your physiological state that you're in. And so one of the first, and Darcy's Coach Darcy, welcome, Coach Darcy. Have not welcomed you yet.
Now I'm here.
We're gonna break down the science just a little bit for you. Again, it's a quick podcast, and we want to make it as simple as we can. And you can go as deep as you can. If you get the book, Brain Energy, and you get the books by these amazing scientists, that is a bonus to you, because you've got some science to back up why you're doing what you're doing. And what my hope is this just becomes a silent wheel in the back of your mind to understand that, my emotions are really high right now, but I've got to also understand that my body is a real key for this. And the number one thing to this is about your blood sugar.
Yeah.
And it's about, and that's the foundation. And so Darcy's going to take us through just a couple minutes here of what your blood sugar means to your metabolic health. You've got to have a safe metabolic, you've got to have this system in place where you understand the metabolic health, because then everything else follows. Then your feelings can follow this science. And that's another podcast. But we're going to talk about what the body means. So Darcy, when we look at this metabolic health world, it all starts with blood sugar.
Yeah.
All of it starts with blood sugar. And this is counterintuitive to the diet culture of just eat less, move more.
Mm-hmm.
What happens with the blood sugar when we talk about metabolic health?
Well, like you said, it is a part, it says the foundation, but I believe that we have multiple things that create a foundation. A lot of tools that we use to create the foundation of a lifelong health style journey. And this is one to understand really well, so that you can form this foundation really well. So understanding the blood sugar, which when I was, learning the science behind the body, I did not see myself learning I did not pay attention in health class. That was not my forte. But understanding now, as somebody who has lost 70 pounds and is intrigued by what the body does, learning how foundational the blood sugar is is vital. So, like a normal body, like somebody who is metabolically healthy, what happens is that your blood sugar rises, then insulin is released, and then insulin helps move sugar into the cells. So then it can carry the cells will carry then that insulin to help the other parts of the body that need the insulin. But here's the key here. Insulin is also a storage hormone. So when we move then to somebody who is maybe not so metabolically healthy now, the body creates too much of it. So your body's so smart that it decides that it's going to do something with it. And the best thing that they know is it's kind of like a hoarder. They save it for later. They're going to do something with it later. They find a nifty little trinket at the antique shop. They're like, oh, I'm going to use this for decorating my house someday. Like that's kind of what too much insulin does. So, um, since insulin is a storage hormone, it's going to then, like when it's getting too much, it becomes too elevated, then the fat burning is paused. Somebody who is metabolically healthy is able to take that insulin and that fat and burn it and do its normal routine where they look like they go and work out and they use that energy. That is somebody who is metabolically healthy. Somebody who has over elevated insulin, that is paused, and then that storage is prioritized. Now, the storage then goes to places like your love handles and the backs of your arms and a lot of the gut. And then for some people that don't even look like they may be overweight, that fat can be stored around the organs. And that is called, what is that called? It's fat skinny or something like that. What is that? Is there a
Yeah, it's
skinny fat?
it's skinny fat. Yeah.
Skinny fat. Like
Yeah.
that is out of all the technical sciencey words out there, that is what you got.
Mhm.
Out of all the
Yeah.
one, they've got skinny fat.
Yeah.
But that is where, yeah, then the fat starts to be stored around your organs. So even on keto, things like stress can raise your blood sugar. You've got poor sleep that raises your blood sugar. Chronic inflammation then raises your insulin. But also keep in mind that glucose, like when we eat our food, that glucose then turns in to sugar, which then spikes that insulin,
Yeah.
right?
And in the presence of insulin, you cannot lose
Cannot
weight.
lose weight. So, chronic inflammation, like even things like deep down inside, if you have autoimmune immune disease, your body's constantly fighting something. So it feels like it's fighting something to the point where it's like, whoa, it goes haywire. So it does what it knows best. That's where it then balances by storing it into fat. Side note, and I love this fact for some reason is when we're living our life and we're storing that fat and whatever toxins that we have had in that moment, like those toxins are stored in those fat storages. So you can be holding onto these toxins that you've had since you were like 12 or 13. It's amazing how long these fat storages can hold all of that
Yeah.
stuff in there.
Even in our mom's day and age, they're finding now that those low fat and those chemicals they brought in through the I can't believe it's not butter and
Yeah,
those kinds of things can go on to the next generation. So our fat cells hold on to this stuff.
right.
And that's what, causes the inflammation. And so it's generational.
Right. So even if you decided to go keto and you're living the keto life, low carb does not automatically mean low insulin.
Mhm.
That's just facts right there. You think that, oh, well, keto didn't work for me because A, B, and C. Well,
Mhm.
that's where we're talking about the other foundational pieces too.
Yeah. Are
So,
you sleeping? Are you
right.
stressed to the max? Those
Yeah.
kinds of things.
So, can you talk to us more about like what insulin resistance means, and what it even looks like to be insulin resistant?
Yeah, it's as the more I study about this, the scarier it actually gets, because when I have a client come to me and say I'm type 2 diabetic, and the doctor wants me to put on all of these statins, all of these things, that insulin resistance has been there for 10 years or more. So insulin resistance is and they're calling it now, it's not insulin resistance, it's diabetes. So we're taking the mask off of this nice little politically correct word called insulin resistance. Well, that means I can't lose weight. No, it actually happens 10 years before you're actually diagnosed with it. And so what we want to do is grab a hold of this and say, okay, I'm insulin resistance, aka diabetic. What does this really mean? And I want you to think of insulin like a key. So remember, insulin, in the presence of insulin, you cannot lose weight. Insulin is high sugar. It's when your pancreas is signaled to send out this hormone that is supposed to get this sugar to all the cells. Well, your insulin is like a key, and think of your cells like doors. Okay. So with insulin resistance, the key still works. Your pancreas is still working. So you haven't gone to type 1 diabetic, right? So the key still works. Your pancreas is still creating it, but the lock is rusty. So it's hard for those cells to get into the cells that need to keep you alive. So your body says, well, it's rusty. I need to make more. I like to think of it as like a teacup, where
Mhm.
your teacup is full of tea, and your teapot is still filling in that cup. Well, it's overflowing. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. So your insulin is making insulin like crazy. Your cells are resisting it because that cell door is rusty, and it can't open. So it's making more and more and more. The key still works, but the lock is rusty. So your body just keeps making more. So what happens then? You have a higher baseline insulin in your blood. So if you get a blood test, your fasting insulin is going to be higher because your insulin has nowhere to go. Fat loss becomes more difficult because you can't get the insulin where it's supposed to go. So it's like, I got to store it somewhere. So I'm going to create a fat cell and store it more. So you become bigger and bigger and bigger. Your energy crashes happen all the time. You're tired all the time. And that releases another hormone that causes your cravings to say, hey, I've got to fix something here. And so your cravings increase. But insulin resistance is a survival adaptation. Okay. It's your body saying, I need to keep this person alive. It's not a personal failure. It's not another diet you failed. It's your body screaming that I am making so much insulin. I don't know what to do with it. So I got to just put it in fat storage. And that's why you hear the term beer belly for the men. For women, you hear more of a tire. It looks like you have a tire around your middle. And that's because your insulin has nowhere to go. And so it's got to make more fat storage. And so some of the common causes of years and years of blood sugar swings. Every time you open a package that's been processed, you're having a sugar swing, right? Years of chronic stress. And I tell you, we coach men on this in our program as well. But honestly, it's the women. Again, anything I say can be countered. But women have taken on this superhero status of I am superwoman to I can keep everybody's life in check. I can fix everything. I can say yes to the church for every need that they want. I am superwoman. That chronic stress is building your insulin. It's building your insulin resistance. It can be caused by the diet culture of undereating. We're seeing this play out in front of our eyes right now with the GLP-1, with the undereating, starving yourself, overtraining. Well, if I just could do more, if I could just do more, if I'm just in the gym 5 days a week, you're not helping yourself. You're overtraining. The poor sleep. And this is one that even 9 years into my journey, I struggle with, because I'm like, sleep, if I can get 4 hours, that's great. Sleep is a huge factor on why you can't lose weight. Overtraining, overeating, chronic stress, all of these things above overuse the pancreas and cause what we call the tire factor, or what we call the beer belly, and the overweight, the chronic obesity that we face. It's not a fact of, you know, it's not a fact of, for a lot of people it is. A lot of people just don't want to cook. They just don't want to eat healthy. They would rather have the easy way out. And that's the path of least resistance. Is It's a law. We take the path of least resistance. If we don't have to cook and we can just pop something into the oven, we're going to do that because it's the path of least resistance, right? But all of these things add up, and they cause this thing called insulin resistance. And when you're insulin resistant, you cannot lose weight.
Mm.
Here is the myth, and the thing that makes me angry about the life that we live today is a lot of people say, well, I'm insulin resistant, so I can't lose weight. No, you're resistant because you're eating the wrong things. You can reverse insulin resistance. It is one of the slowest things to reverse. My tire around my middle when I lost 130 pounds was the last to go. So a lot of people give up before they even start. So that is the whole premise of insulin resistance. If you have that, you are diabetic, my friend. This is not an either or situation. You have got to get this under control. And you'll get it under control with simple things. And that's what we coaches do. That's why we help you. We give you the map out of being insulin resistant. But through this, weight loss can feel so hard. And it can be so frustrating because it is a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey of how do I get from insulin resistant so that I can lose body fat to why it feels so hard on keto. So Darcy, take
Mhm.
us through a segment here on why weight loss feels so hard on keto, on carnivore, on these insulin journeys.
Yeah. Um, I think the big elephant in the room that I'd like to discuss is kind of what you've already pinpointed a little bit about the dieting history. We go through so many um diets, and it doesn't between diet pills that are probably not healthy, to the starvation diets, to I'm just going to eat celery. I remember I've heard, like, back in the 90s, like the celery diet, where you just make a celery mix of something and that's all you drink for a long period of time, which has zero nutrients in it, by the way. But the chronic dieting history, that is one reason why you can, if you're doing keto and you're saying it's not working, um, and why it could stall, like why keto stalls you, or even carnivore, why carnivore would stall you, or yeah, I'll add in paleo because paleo works for some people too. Um, but another one is under eating your calories too long. This one, as a macro coach, I've seen a lot of this, and it drives me bonkers. I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves, actually, is you'll hear a client say, "Oh, I just don't have energy," and I can't eat. Like, I don't have energy, and I don't think this is working for me. But they're eating under 1,200 calories. I remember I was doing a biohack on myself when we were experimenting. We did a lot of biohacking back in the day. And I went through a period of time where I would eat 900 calories, and that's all I ate. And it was probably for a month or two. Yes, I lost weight, but then I didn't. And I also noticed when I would work out, like, I had zero energy. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I'm like, I don't feel okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's because I was eating under 1,200 calories. And 1,200 calories is enough for a child. A child, that's their calorie intake. They should be taking that to have the energy and having their body function and all their brains working, all that. When you are under eating them, your calories, your body's going to hold on to the fat. It's going to say, wait a minute, I don't feel safe. So, because I don't feel safe, I'm going to hold on to this precious fat because I know that I have a go to for when I'm not getting enough calories. So it's I've seen it so many times, and then once that client slowly builds their calories back up, their body starts to release the fat. So it's amazing how that reverses the release of their fat when they have built their calories up to like the, 14 to almost 2000 calories. Like that is what your body wants and it feels safe then. Um, Another one is why keto will cause you to stall. Is it's not the keto that causes you to stall. It's the high stress and the cortisol, like you pinpointed. That high stress is like licking a lollipop all day long. It's like it's putting that sugar in there and it's trying to again counterbalance these hormones that are happening in your body. So, another one is like you also mentioned, the poor sleep. If you're not getting an adequate amount of sleep and your brain is not turning off and you are not getting into that REM phase in your sleep cycle, your body also knows that. So, again, to feel safe, it's going to hold on to the fat. It's going to hold on to stuff when it doesn't feel safe and energized. And then metabolic slowdown. Your metabolic, oh my goodness, that's a fun word to say when you're trying to say it. The metabolic slowdown will happen as well. So you are not going to lose weight as fast as maybe when you first started doing keto. If you are not doing things the proper way and giving your body the nutrients and the calories that it needs, it's going to slow down. And the way I like to explain it to my clients is we've been taught that calories are bad. Too many calories are bad. And that's when people undereat. They have that mindset. But calories is your energy. That's when I'm looking at your proteins, like we're breaking down the macros, the proteins and the fat that balance into your initial energy intake. So if you're feeling on keto that you have zero energy, I look at what calories you're consuming. If you're eating under 1,200 calories, expect that you are not going to have much energy for your body to feel safe and utilize. If the body feels stressed and unsafe, it protects the fat stores, it slows down your metabolism, and it increases your hunger signals. That I have experienced when I was eating at 900 calories. My hunger signals were no longer working properly, which took, by the way, side note, it took a lot of work for me to get that leptin button to start working again. And it takes a lot of work. So if you don't want to have to put a whole lot of work into something that was already working, don't break it in the first place. An important note is keto, that's a tool. And for me, it's peace because I know that food is not controlling me. I'm not worried when I eat a certain thing that I'm going to gain weight from it, or I'm going to stall something. I'm not going to stress my body out. It's like that key of peace and freedom. These tools don't override biology though. So
Yeah.
keto is a tool, but tools don't override biology.
Yeah.
Your body is smart.
Your body overrides it.
It knows what to do when something's unbalanced, when it's not being given what it needs. It knows how to not fix it. It's kind of like when you're taking medication in a way. It's just a Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
Medication's not healing your body. It is a Band-Aid for something that your body's capable of doing on its own. But you got to let it.
Listen to it. You have to listen to it. And you have to know
Exactly.
your body, which is why our program is frustrating to a lot of people because we have to actually listen to our clients and listen to what's going on. And we have all of these things on the outside that are impacting the biology, and we've got to nail down and pinpoint what it is. And that's not fast weight loss, folks, but I'm telling you, it's permanent weight loss because once you understand your body and once you understand what actually supports your metabolic healing, you've got the key to get out of there. That key is no longer rusty. You're like, I know what it is. And so metabolic health and metabolic healing has a recipe to it. And that's constant protein intake. That's enough calories. The most radical I take my clients on is a 1,300 aggressive cut. That's the most radical we go. And so it's making sure you have enough calories. It's stable meal timing. How long you can keep your body producing the human growth hormone, which is your fat loss hormone, is key. Now, in that same breath, we we produce human growth hormone by not eating. That's giving our bodies time to heal. Now, if I have a client coming to me with an eating disorder and we talk about fasting and we talk about all of that stuff, it looks a little bit different. So there's not a one size fits all, but it's stabilizing your meal timing. It's prioritizing sleep. It is strength training over excessive cardio. It's managing your stress. Now, if I went to a client during one of my sessions and say, we have to do what was there? 6 points in there: consistent protein intake, enough calories, meal timing, prioritizing sleep, strength training, managing stress. If I told a client that we've got to do all 6 of these in one session, they're going to bop me over the head and say, you're stressing me out. So all of these can't be done at once. Now,
Mhm.
can they? Yes. Everything I say can be proven by somebody who said I did them all at once. That's not necessarily wisdom. But working on these one point at a time, healing your metabolism is about safety and consistency, not intensity. So there's times when a client comes to me who has all these goals of losing weight, but we've got to leave one of these out and we've got to work on, hey, how can you get 130 grams of protein in your day? How can we do this? How can we set up your environment so that you can have these? So that Sundays don't mess you up because the family comes over on Sundays. So it's very tedious work and it's very hard work. And that's why we do what we do. Um, Fat loss follows that metabolic repair quietly. It's not like the GLP-1 movement out there right now, all one and done. It is not a one and done. It is consistent healing on each one of these things. So, what actually supports metabolic healing? Those 6 factors.
Mhm.
And I'm sure we could put more in there, but those are the 6 ones that I work with my clients first. And then we find something else is out of whack, then we address it. But it's slow and it's consistency. Your body has to feel safe. It has to know that, hey, Lisa, Margaret, Monica, whoever you are, this is not about fast one and done. It's about consistency. If you go off plan 3 times a week, my friend, you're not going to get it done. Your body needs consistency. Number one, scientifically, you heal insulin resistance by removing the sugar, removing the carbs, removing the things that caused it. But it's not fast and quick. It is safe so your body can trust you again. It doesn't trust us after the diet cycle we've been on. It thinks you're going to just starve it. It has a very weak trust system with you. We've got to build that trust back. And then the weight starts to fall off. And then we come to our last segment, which is relief and empowerment. When you think of those 2 terms, Darcy, relief plus empowerment, I'm sure you can see clients in your mind right now
Mhm.
without giving up the HIPAA factor. But what does that look like to you? The relief and empowerment section.
I honestly was thinking about myself.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I loved like when the word empowerment came to mind for me, it put again that peace that I can do this. I know that I no longer need to be listening to what everybody else is telling me. I know it works for my body. I know that the data I've collected over the time period that I've been living this lifestyle, I know myself very well. So, since I know myself very well and how my body works and what my body needs, I do have that empowerment. And it does bring a big sigh of relief. It helps me be able to go to these gatherings and church functions and parties and even being at home and knowing that I can still give my body what it needs and what I need and be at peace about it and not feel like I'm missing out on anything. It's just a balance. And it's kind of like I picture a game show with the doors. Like I don't remember what game show it was, but it would have those doors that was labeled 1, 2, and 3, and you get to choose which door to open, and behind it is some mysterious prize. Well, for so long I was using the wrong key for all these doors that I was trying to open for a bit of relief and freedom. And I finally have that key, and that key is my foundational lifestyle choice of what is good for my body. So for me, again, it's empowering. Um, and I want to bring up to our listeners, like if you have tried the ketogenic lifestyle, if you've tried carnivore even for yourself, um, and your body is not doing what it did when you first started the first month or two, and that means like maybe you've been stalled, like you're not failing. That's not a fail, because a health style journey that is um the correct answer for you, it's hard work. You know when something is good for you when it's a lot of hard work to change. It's not instant gratification. It's not something that is convenient either. So, especially in our society that we live in today, it's not convenient to live this lifestyle because nobody wants to agree with you. They want to hand you cookies and all these other treats and convenient foods. But again, you're not failing if you are stalled. Also, if you're frustrated, that also makes sense because, like I said, it's challenging. It's hard work. You go through different seasons in this lifestyle change, that are you think that you have things all handled, but then a new season arrives and you have to handle that in another way that you maybe weren't working on before. But it's also bringing you closer to a goal. I call those moments, those seasons are systems. The systems that build you up to, like James Clear. Also took a little bit from James Clear, okay? But just those systems help you get to that final destination of peace and empowerment, you know? And then if you're tired of blaming yourself, you can stop. You can stop blaming yourself, because when you don't have the right tools and you don't have the right motivation and you don't have the right mindset, then it can seem like it is just a repeat of the same cycles that you've been in before. But I'm just telling you, stop blaming yourself. Just stop it. Because that blame then puts us into guilt, and that guilt then makes us feel like we are just broken and unfixable and we can't reverse anything, but we can reverse things. I've seen it. I've seen the most challenging situations where you think, oh, I don't know how this person's going to get there, but they do because they work hard, they do the things, and they trust the process. We haven't used that one for a while. Do the things and trust the process. And then you have, again, that empowerment bit by bit.
Mhm.
Understanding your body is the beginning of working with it. That is
Right.
why I love collecting the data on myself. That is why I love being observant about how my body works compared to maybe yours or the next person. It's not going to do what everybody else's does, because I got my body, at 220 pounds by my own choices, by my own journey. And it's not like everybody else's.
Mhm.
So mine started when I was in college. And actually it started when I was a youngster addicted to candy. Like that was when it all began. But I know that because I
Yeah.
did the hard work, I journaled, and um, learned a lot about myself. And it was
Yeah.
ugly, but now I have overcome that.
Yeah. And this picture can be duplicated 3 times inside your journey. So if I have a client who comes to me at say 350 pounds, there's not a lot of work we have to do because calories do matter. They're not everything, but they do matter. If I have a client who comes to me at 320 pounds and is losing an average of 2 to 3 pounds a week, they're on a really great trajectory to losing a lot of weight. However, when they get to about the 160 mark, we have to change things up. And so that's where we come in and say, okay, this has worked for you so far. Now your body has become so so ingrained in the homeostasis that now it feels safe here at the 160, and that's a new body set point. So you bring in more science as you lose the weight. We bring in more tools as you lose the weight because your body has a set point. Again, that responsibility comes from the creator of the universe who said, I got to keep these people alive even if there's a famine. And so your body creates set points. So the journey changes. So the journey we're talking about today may not work for you when you're 160 pounds and you want to be 130. That's when we bring in more science. And we're not going to overwhelm you with that science. So, understanding your body, like Darcy said, is the beginning of working with it. Then we take different tactics and different tools because we can change the body's set point. So, our take home reflection for you today is I want you to ask yourself if you're listening to us on a podcast, by the way, if you're listening to us on a podcast and this has helped you, please send us a comment. Please send us a review because the more reviews you send, the more this gets out to other people. But we want you to ask yourself this week, are you trying to force weight loss medically, with medicine, or with starving yourself? Are you trying to force it? Or are you supporting your metabolism? Because when you get to that second statement, when you support your metabolism and you understand the science behind it, that is when you bump it down and you get closer and closer to your goal. So we wanted to bring science in. It's not my favorite topic, honestly. I'd rather talk about feelings. But if we ignore the science, then we really, really give you a bum deal, right?
Yes.
So we wanted to take a segment and just talk about that science. It's all about insulin. Everything we do is about insulin and what it's doing in your body. And it's all about your metabolism. Have you crashed your metabolism? If you're on a GLP-1 right now, which many people are, if you are to that point where you're like, I've lost the weight, but my gosh, I don't want to gain it back. It has to do with your metabolism. Let me be very clear with you. If you're on the GLP-1 shot, we need you and you want to get off. You wanted your goal to get off. We need you on that shot 4 months before we can get you off of it. Don't stop your shot right now. If you're like, I'm nearing my goal, I'm ready. I know that I don't want to be on this for life. My insurance may have failed. It's getting expensive. I need help so I don't gain this weight back. Please don't stop your shot. We need you 4 months because we're going to do a titration system. We're going to titrate you off and we're going to reverse your diet so that you get back up to eating about 2,000 calories. So please keep that in mind. We have a stance on the GLP-1 drug. I've lived it. I don't like what it's doing to mental health. I don't like what it's doing to eyesight. I don't like the side effects. So yes, we have an opinion on GLP-1, but we also have an escape plan. Because of the trial that I did, unfortunately, we do have an escape plan for it, and you don't have to gain that weight back. You can fix your metabolism. This applies to you as well, so don't write it off. So this week was science. Next week, we're going to dive into the stress and weight connection and why cortisol might be your missing piece. So you want to tune in next week as we talk about and we take this science just a little bit further, but we do get into the stress and the weight connection because we know we've got almost 9 years as a thriving weight loss clinic, and we understand. In fact, Darcy, I threw my book in the trash a couple weeks ago. I've been writing a book. I threw it in the trash. We're in a fight right now because I don't want to release it, and I know it is a pretty significant factor in the whole weight loss and the whole real weight loss. So I may take it out, but
Well, you should, because I said I'd quit if you did that. So you can be coaching by yourself or you can finish your book.
so yeah, a lot of this, and I had a scientist review the book, and bless their hearts, scientists and doctors have all of those science-y reasons, and we understand food addiction, and we understand the science, the chemical. We all get it. I was a food addict. I get it. I know I had a food addiction problem, but as we have sat with clients for 9 years, the reality of it is the stress and the weight connection, those things are married to each other. And if we don't address the tired moms and the tired dads who have tried everything in the book, and they're just flat out too tired, and they're stressed and they're overwhelmed. If we don't address that, then they don't care about the science part of it. They know they're addicted. They know there's a chemical addiction. So I'm addressing it in the book that I'm writing. Whether it gets released or not, I don't know. But I do know that it has helped a couple of people in our practice. So
And when
it's
your and when your book does get published, then we will have you on the show to tell us about your book so then other people can then go purchase your book to read it themselves because I said when I was reading it and going over it, I said, I wish that was on hard copy so that I could highlight all these magnificent quotes and these moments of like, oh yeah, like,
it's real
so
life. It's
if
real life.
if you were with this podcast, I would say in the comments, like if you're going to give us a review, really encourage Coach Monica to finish her book.
That's evil. That's
And
evil.
but so leaving while you leave us a review, say yes, I would really like to hear this new book that Monica has coming out.
Real life. Real life is a factor. I would
Hmm.
say, yeah, we understand the chemical stuff. We get it, but it's the foundation. And if we can't get through the stress and the real lifeness of our journey, we're going to be on a circular diet for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And that's our passion. It used to be okay. So when I was a new practice, I was a new CEO. I was excited. I had just left my job at the college I was working at. And I was so excited because I was now a full time coach. I've made it into the real world. And then, and then we sit with people and we're like, you can't not know the science. That's why we did the podcast
Right.
today. You can't
Yeah.
not know it because it's chemical. Like,
Hmm.
but if we can't walk people through the pits and we can't walk them through real life and we can't sit with them every week and say, I heard the word crapola week this week. My goal with that client was to tell her that crapola is why she's going to keep the weight off
Hmm.
because she's learning how to do this thing the right way during the crapola seasons.
Yeah.
And that's the full picture of weight loss. And if you don't have that, if you only have the science, you'll be on it for the average person, maybe 6 weeks. For the strong-willed person, maybe 10 weeks. And then you've got a relapse. So let's sit in the season of let's learn the metabolism. Let's learn what does that mean? What does insulin resistance mean? Okay, I get that. But then next week, let's dive into the stress and the weight connection. I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
And so stay tuned. We are so glad to be back behind the mic. We love you guys. And it's a really big burden for us to sit here and talk about the uglies of weight loss because a lot of people, if you're an influencer, you want to talk about, and I wanted to do this when we first opened the practice. Our clients have lost 10,000 pounds. Well, do they keep it off? That's the question. That's all
Hmm.
I care about now. Did you
Yeah.
keep it off? So we're so glad you joined us today. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. If you're struggling and you're like, yeah, I understand the science, but I just need you to walk me through this emotional part. Our website is kmhealthcoaching.org. You can find Coach Darcy's schedule. You can find my schedule. Please, before you apply to any of our programs, please get us on the phone for a free health coaching consult first because we don't want you in the wrong program. If you're a woman who's trying to have a baby right now, we're not going to put you in the keto program. We're going to put you in our hormone program. We're going to get your hormones aligned before you start to get pregnant. If you are a food addict, we're not going to put you in our keto program because abstinence is the only key to food addiction. So make sure you sign up for a weight loss consult first before you enroll in a program. And again, we love being with you every Tuesday morning from 6 to noon. We drop, I say that because it was noon. It was noon o'clock this last week.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, we discovered that during a live session that it was not uploaded, but it was by noon. So
Yeah, and that it wasn't Wednesday, but it wasn't Monday, but it was Tuesday instead of Wednesday. I think
that
you got
messed with
all
my
of your days
head.
messed up.
And we were live when we found this
Yeah.
fact out. We were
Well,
live. It was not.
I knew what day
Wednesday.
it was.
I did not.
I didn't know where you were.
I was
I
not
t-
on Wednesday. It's been a week.
hey, you know what? We're here.
We're here. We're so glad you're here. Join us next week and we love you guys.
Bye.